of all, I want to start off by saying thank you and welcome home to the Vietnam veterans. Today was designated Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day, 40 years late. But just take a moment right now to think about the men and the women who served in Vietnam and came back to be ridiculed, spit upon, and marginalized. And it's about time that there was a movement. Today on my show, I spoke with one of the Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, Mike Thornton. I brought on a colonel from the United States Army, Christensen, who was a nurse in Vietnam, and it was just a great moment on the radio. And that's the kind of things that local radio talk show hosts get to do. So I have a particular fondness for the person I'm going to introduce because, well, he's got the most impressive resume you'd ever want to hear, but of course when it ends on talk radio, that's the beginning for me anyway, isn't it? So I've been running around Broward County, Palm Beach County, and Dade County because apparently since I was so instrumental, according to the newest congressman from Congressional District 22, in getting him elected, everybody wants me to get them elected now. So I've been spending every waking hour trying to track down who's going to fund congressional campaigns and senatorial campaigns for those of us here in the state of Florida who are looking to make more changes. And trust me, it has been a daunting task, and unfortunately the number one response that I get, no matter who I ask or what I ask for, is, I'll support you if you run. Now, I want to put to rest any rumors about me running for Congress in this upcoming election, for now. I remain unconvinced that it would be a good thing for me to go to Washington, and since God chose to snatch that out of my hands one time last year, I have rethought my plan. But nonetheless, I leave my options open. Of course, you can't be on talk radio and run for office, and you know that I can't shut up. Now, I'm going to introduce a man who was born and raised in Atlanta. What is it with me and black men from Atlanta? This one, the last one was a history professor, for all intents and purposes. This one got a mathematics degree from Morehouse. He then went on to get a master's from Purdue and to work with the Department of the Navy for a period of 6 years as a mathematician. And I just want you to think about how smart you have to be to do that. But that wasn't enough for this man. He wanted to fulfill the American dream that his parents planted inside of him. The same kind of dream that we talked about over the last 2 years with the congressman from CD22. That dream that it didn't really matter where you were born, it didn't really matter what color your skin was. All that mattered was that you had a belief that you could be and achieve anything you wanted in the United States of America. So this gentleman decided he would try his hand at corporate America, but not just like corporate America, Coca-Cola right out of the box. And that wasn't enough, so on he went to Pillsbury, where he became a vice president. And even that wasn't enough, so he decided, what can I do that'll really prove just how smart I am? How about if I tackle 450 failing Burger Kings and I bring them back from the brink of obscurity to all thriving, successful businesses? Well, that's a pretty nice feather in the cap, and it earned him the CEO-ship of Godfather's Pizza, which also was on the verge of bankruptcy at the time. But he turned that company around, and the management team that brought him in was able to then sell that company for more money than he'll need to raise for this campaign, or about the same amount. We're talking about a man who became the chairman of the National Restaurant Association, a man who challenged President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, who didn't have an official title, but had invented Obamacare 1. He challenged him at a town hall meeting and said, I don't understand how these numbers line up. And since he was the mathematician, he did stump the president that night. And of course, what did that mean? A future in talk radio. And that's exactly what ended up happening. He got, oh, actually, I forgot. He was the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City, somewhere along the line in this whole thing. So where would all that lead a man to? Talk radio on Atlanta's WSB 750. I know that because I tried to get a job there not that long ago. So what's next for Herman Cain? Well, how about the White House? After that resume, and after you have an opportunity to hear him speak his mind, it doesn't seem that far-fetched. And all I would say to my former colleague in talk radio is, don't back down, Herman. Why would you appoint a Muslim to your cabinet? Why would you appoint anyone to your cabinet based on the color of their skin, their religious practice, or their ethnicity? It's a loaded question, it's a setup question, and the answer is always, I will only appoint the best and the brightest people in the country. So, may I throw in my name for press secretary? Because after all, where else would you find a straight, evangelical, Hispanic, with Jewish heritage? You would fulfill all your EEOC requirements in one fell swoop. Your cabinet could be made of whoever you wanted it to be. Herman Cain.
Your name in that hat for press secretary. Because, you know, I want people that have courage. She's got courage. That's going to be one of the requirements of anybody that's in a Herman Cain administration. Because you know people are going to come after you. They have already started to come after me. To Joyce, thank you for that very fine introduction. And yes, I would love to have you speak on my behalf in Washington, D.C. Thank you all again for being here. It is a delight and a thrill. And I know that many of you all have either, there she is, weren't that the first meeting? Welcome, see? I'm sorry to throw you under the bus, but see, I was looking for you. Thank you all for being here. I know many of you all met with me a few weeks ago when we had our little gathering, and many of you heard me speak before, so I'm going to do something a little different tonight. I'm not going to give my stump speech, as some people call it, because many of the ideas that I have about what we need to do in this country and how we need to approach it are in this little booklet that's available to you free before you leave for tonight. I call it Common Sense Solutions to America's Problems. Now you notice it's small, it's not 2,700 pages, and I didn't have a staff person write it. I wrote it in English. And people can read it and understand. So this tells you my ideas about how we approach solving these problems. This nation has become a nation of crises. We have a moral crisis. We have an economic crisis. We have an entitlement spending crisis. We have an immigration crisis. We have a crisis, deficiency of leadership crisis. That's our biggest problem. Things don't get solved in Washington, D.C. And so as you think about who you want to be your nominee to run on the Republican ticket as a conservative, to become president of the United States, remember those. One of the questions that I got asked by one of the reporters earlier, I think it was Tony, which is a legitimate question. I haven't had a lot of political experience. How about none? And I did run for the United States Senate once in 2004, and I came in an impressive second place. I mean, I beat a 12-year congressman, and I came within 2 percentage points of forcing a runoff with a 6-year congressman who ultimately won the nomination. He went on to become United States Senator Johnny Isakson. So no. So whenever people ask me, well, you haven't held public office. No, I haven't. I say it proudly. And I say, most of the people in Washington, D.C., they have. How's that working, buddy? It's not working. It's not working. The good news is there are some people there, like Representative West and a number of others that you sent there in this last election that are standing up on principle. we've got to have more people like that, but we've also got to have somebody like that in the White House. Unafraid, courageous, not concerned about political correctness, only concerned about what is correct for the people of this country and the United States of America. And like Joyce said, when that reporter from Huffington Post asked me that setup question, would you put a Muslim in your administration? I said no. But what he did report when he did that hit piece was white. I'm looking for people, irregardless of religion, like Joyce said, irregardless of ethnicity or color, but most importantly, people that will be committed to the Constitution of the United States of America. And if they're committed to Sharia law, no, they're not working in my administration. Have it both ways. If you're going to live in the United States of America, it is expected that the laws of this nation come first, including recognizing the laws of this nation with the current president. I had a problem when he instructed the Justice Department to not enforce the Defense of Marriage Act. That is a breach of his oath. I have a problem when the President of the United States wants to rewrite the Declaration of Independence and leave out endowed by their creator. The Founding Fathers got it right. Leave it alone. Then when the United States representative leads the House of Representatives in the Pledge of Allegiance and omits on the God, I have a problem with that. I have a severe problem with that. And so, yes, you have done something with your efforts and your other citizens and your other members that the political pundits didn't think was possible. Change control of Congress in one cycle, took back the House, almost took back the majority in the Senate. But you're going to do that the next time, and you're going to change the And you know, the thing about it is, there are still some people in this country who are doubting Thomases. I get asked all the time, is this Tea Party thing going to die out? Now we are a thing. And you know why they're calling us that Tea Party thing? Because they're scared to death and they don't know how to stop it. Because this sleeping giant called we the people has awakened and it's not going back to sleep. And so for all of those crises that I mentioned, including a national security crisis, I don't feel comfortable at all with what's going on in the Middle East and how this administration is handling it. I do not feel comfortable. Monday night, I was hoping the president would answer 3 questions. What's the mission? And he made a statement that just confused me even more. What is the mission? Secondly, if you clarify the mission, what's the plan? Have y'all heard a plan yet? No. We're firing off those missiles at $1.4 million a pop. And we don't even know what the mission is. We don't know what the plan is. We don't need to know the details of the plan. We need to know that there is a plan. And number 3, at what point do you put our men and women in uniform in harm's way directly in what's going on in Libya? The American people need to know that. And we don't know that. Because when I'm asked, well, what would I do? I have to start with, I can tell you what I would have done before it broke out. That's what business people do. I would have had a strategy for what we would do if A, B, C, or D happened. This is why you get mixed messages out of the administration. And then the other question that, when the reporter was challenging me on the fact that I hadn't had any political experience, he said, well, will America elect somebody else that hasn't had any political experience or held up office? Barack Obama hasn't had a lot of political experience. He's never held office except he was a senator for a little while. I said there's a big difference between Barack Obama and Herman Cain. I've had a lot of problem-solving experience. He hasn't. When I was at Pillsbury, Burger King, Godfather, the National Restaurant Association, the reason that I was able to rise up the ranks in those corporations is because I knew how to solve problems. And my approach to problem solving has not changed. And it'll be the same approach to problem solving that I would take to Washington, D.C. Make sure you're working on the right problems, number one. That might seem like common sense. But when we already have Social Security with issues, Medicare and Medicaid with issues, and you're going to pass a health care reform bill on top of that, that's not working on the right problem. Not working on the right problem. Secondly, set the right priorities. I heard the head of ICE say he didn't have enough money to do his job, to enforce the border, enforce the laws, or get people through the current process that we have fast enough or efficiently enough. That means that somebody had to place the right priority on securing the border. Number three, surround yourself with good people. That's how you succeed in business. That's how you succeed in any organization. The president only has 7% of the president's appointees. People in his administration, 7 have ever had a real job. They've only been in academia or politics. And we wonder why the policies don't work. It is the lowest, even lower than Jimmy Carter's. She said, wow. So she didn't know that. Yeah, I read your lips. Wow. 7. 93% of these people have never had a real job like you and me. And they're trying to tell us what to do. Shove legislation down our throats. I don't think so. I don't think so. And then fourth, if you got the right people and you got working on the right problem, you got the right priorities, you put together plans. You don't try to run a business without a plan. You shouldn't try to run a nation without a plan. That's right. When I went to Godfather's Pizza, they were going bankrupt. A lot of people said, well, running a small pizza company is a lot different than running the biggest nation in the world. Well, I know that. But the principles for success don't change. I have looked bankruptcy between the eyes when I went to Godfather's. And Pillsbury had given up on it and said, it can't make it. They had already planned to write it off their books at the end of that fiscal year. And then they made the mistake of making me president of Godfather's. And I didn't get the memo that said we were supposed to go bankrupt. I didn't know any better. So we fixed it. And I was there for 10 years. So no, I haven't had any previous political experience, and I'm proud of it. Yeah. But I've had a lot of problem-solving experience, and that's what makes me different from Barack Obama when they want to try to draw that parallel. And I'll tell you one other thing that makes me different from President Barack Obama. It ain't about color, folks. It's about character and content. It's character and content. I had someone ask me at a town hall meeting when I was in Iowa, one of my trips. I've been to Iowa 12 times, New Hampshire 6. I've been all over the place. I've been to Florida almost as many times as I've been to Iowa. And I think I'm coming back. I don't know where Mark is, so I better not say that. I think I'm coming back on tax day. I can't remember. I don't know my schedule that far out. But I had somebody ask, well, Mr. Cain, I don't know how to ask this other than to just ask it. You think that because this black president has been so bad in terms of of not leading this country, that people are going to be reluctant to vote for another black man? I said, you might find a thimble full of people that might think that. But if you think about the first 43 presidents, they were all white. Were they all raped? I think you have a few dozen in that group. So now you get a chance to be batting 500. Get rid of him and elect me. Let's go for 500. Now I must say for the cameras, I am still in exploratory phase. I will make a formal decision within several weeks from now in terms of being a definitive candidate. But I can tell you this. We set up 4 measures, benchmarks, that we needed to meet. Remember I told you about this planning thing that business people do? You know, we said, okay, here are the hurdles, here are the benchmarks we need to set up in order for me to make a decision to go and run for president. We have exceeded 3 of the 4. And we have met the 4th one. That's not bad, is it? I'll just share one of the ones, because I want to take the question. One of the ones was when we launched our exploratory committee in the middle of January at hermancain.com. If you go to hermancain.com, you don't have to put in the words exploratory in it, just hermancain.com. Cain like in the Bible, but it didn't kill anybody. That's how you remember it, hermancain.com. You can sign up as a volunteer, or you can donate money, or you can do both. In the first 2 weeks, we got 30,000 volunteers from all over the country who said they wanted to work on the Herman Cain presidential campaign. Do you know that number now approaches 100,000? So that was one of our benchmarks. Now, if you haven't signed up, it's not too late. I need 1 million foot soldiers out there, so we're not about to stop there. That was one of the things. So the encouragement that I have gotten from the grassroots, regular folk, has been encouraging. Because you see, the political establishment is not going to elect Herman Cain. The political elites are not going to support me. ABC, CBS, and NBC, they're still in denial that I am even a legitimate candidate. A friend of mine said when I was giving a speech out in Phoenix on Monday, he said, Herman, the reason that they are trying to ignore you is because they are afraid of you. Yeah. They do not want Barack Obama to have to go toe-to-toe with you as the Republican presidential candidate. I said, is it because I never use a teleprompter? I said, no, it's not because of that. It's because you got depth. You understand the issues. You know how to be honest with people. That's why they don't want to see you going toe-to-toe with Barack Obama. And so the liberal mainstream media, notice how they have tried to destroy Sarah Palin. Notice how the more popular Michelle Bachmann gets, the more they try to destroy her. You want to know why they go after those 2 ladies more viciously? Because they know that Michelle Bachmann or Sarah Palin is going to draw a lot of the women vote away from the Democrat Party. They are scared to death of that if they were to run and get the nomination. They are doubly scared that a real black man might run against. I was telling Javier earlier. I'm calling you out, Javier. I was telling Javier earlier. I used to get calls to my radio show. And I got to tell you, Joyce, I admire you. You said you've been on 20 years? Good Lord. I said, ooh. I was on for 5 years and it just about killed me. I had to give up the show so I could go out and do these kinds of events and be on TV more to try to get my name out there. But it is this whole journey has been just that. It has been a journey. It has been a journey. And the thing that has encouraged me has been you, your fellow citizens, and all of the other organizations out there. Because I believe the regular folk are going to take this country back. Yeah. Regular folk are going to determine the next occupant of the White House, and they're going to determine control of the United States Senate. Yeah. And as a Herman Cain president, you can be assured of one thing, that I will be, to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, a president of the people. I'm one of y'all. A president by the people. I'm not going to get elected without regular folk turning out in numbers and voting for me when it comes to the primary or when it comes to running for president. And then I will be for the people. My first priority will be to make the people happy, not make the politicians happy, not make the party happy, with all due respect, not pander, and not try to be politically correct. Political correctness and compromise is killing this country. We need to fix stuff the right way. And as I said in my little booklet, I give you some of the approaches that I would do that, how I would do that. Many of you heard me talk about my 5-point plan in order to truly stimulate the economy with direct stimulus, lower the top corporate tax rate, suspend the capital gains tax forever, suspend taxes on repatriated profits, make the tax rates permanent, get rid of the uncertainty that's over this economy, and provide a real payroll tax holiday for workers and employers. All of that would be direct stimulus, and I guarantee you it would stimulate this economy rather than running another $1 trillion through the United States government. You and I knew it wasn't going to work when they passed that sucker. But they did it anyway because the objective wasn't to stimulate the economy. If they really thought that that money was going to stimulate the economy by putting all that money in the government programs and growing government, if they really thought that, then we're in more trouble than we thought. You and I knew it wasn't going to work. You and I knew that health care reform wasn't going to work. Now 9 states have asked for waivers. Over 1,000 companies have asked for waivers. Why? They know the sucker can't work. Let's repeal it and replace it. I get a little worked up over this stuff sometimes because it ain't about us. It's about the grandkids. We're going to be just fine, y'all. We're going to be just fine. But it's not about us. It's about the grandkids. I've got 3 of them. Love them to death. One's 12, one's 7, and one's 17 months. That's why, as Joyce indicated, now that I am in my exploratory committee, and as soon as I declare as a candidate, I become unemployed. We don't need another unemployed person right now. So I have to be very careful about that. But let me tell you a little secret to let you know where I am. In January, I put my toe in the water by being the first person to formally announce an exploratory committee. Tim Valente just announced his last week. But since I put my toe in the water, based upon the feedback and encouragement that I have gotten, that we have gotten, the water is now all the way up to my neck, if you know what I mean. And I'm not looking back. Not looking back. This is the greatest country in the world, folks. And I reminded an audience earlier today, one of the greatest things about this nation is our ability to change. When we know we are going down the wrong track, we have the ability to get it back on the right track. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here. That's why you do what you do, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I believe that we were all put here on this planet to make a difference, based upon your individual skills, talents, and abilities. When you get home tonight, read Matthew 25, 24. You know the story about the talents. Yep. The Lord chastised the one who did not do anything with his talent. And I happen to believe that we all must do what we can do. Everybody can do the same thing. You can be a Tea Party leader. You can organize. You can a lot of things. Everybody has to do what they can do. Based upon my journey over the last 65 years, I never dreamed that I would be thinking about running for president of the United States. But as I often tell people, there are 2 plans in life. There's your plan, the one that you come up with, and God's plan. And right now, I think God's plan has something different.